Welcome to Ayurveda and Spirituality with your host, Alakananda Ma, a renowned Ayurvedic expert and a graduate of a top London medical school. She is the principal of Alundi Ayurveda Gurukula, a unique apprenticeship-style school in Boulder, Colorado. She is a spiritual mother, teacher, flower essence maker, and storyteller. Join us as we uncover the timeless principles of Ayurveda, discover practical tips for enhancing vitality, and explore the deeper dimensions of spirituality that intertwine with the ancient science of life.
Namaste. Hello, everyone. So let's take a little bit of time to think about memory, how Ayurveda can support our memory. A quote from Veda: "Thanks to your wholesome remedies, O God, may I attain the span of 100 winters. Drive far away from us all hatreds and troubles. Scatter to the four winds every sort of sickness." We all want to live long, but the vision is never really to live a long while in a nursing home not knowing who we are. So we all want to live long, healthy, and with a good memory. And yet, somewhere around age 50, we start our Vata time of life, our elder years. And Vata isn't that great for memory. We can get any kind of memory loss. And of course, some people do get dementia and some people do get Parkinson's disease. It can be unnerving dealing with memory loss. Typically, we might start to notice a change in our memory from about age 45, and it's really the working memory problem or the portals problem. It's going downstairs and then standing in the room down there and thinking, why did I come here? It's going to your computer or opening your phone and then thinking, what am I trying to do here? That kind of working memory problem is a result of going through a portal. So the best way to actually solve it is to go back where you started from. Your house is full of portals as you pass from one room to another. Also, of course, your computer or your phone have many built-in portals which are designed to make you forget why you went there in the first place, so that you spend more time engaged and being exposed to advertising. So it's pretty clever design that way. So yeah, the best way to remember that you went downstairs to get toilet paper from the storeroom is to go back upstairs and recalibrate and then keep saying, I'm going for toilet paper while you go back down the stairs and stay present. Getting a loss of memory in and of itself is a Vata problem, but it can be caused by Vata, Pitta, or Kapha factors. Vata causes could include trauma, stress. Stress is probably one of the most common causes of not having such a good memory. Head injury, sleep deprivation, another very common cause. B vitamin deficiency, and just aging. Pitta causes can include depression as well as infectious diseases. And if it's due to depression, your memory will recover once you're not depressed. Among Kapha causes could be low thyroid, could be obesity, could be diabetes. There's also toxic causes like drinking too much alcohol, using drugs, certain medications like statins, antidepressants, sleeping pills, antihistamines, benzodiazepines, antipsychotics, opioids. So any of those things could affect our memory. Our memory declining as we age is typically due to a lot of factors, including stress, raised cholesterol, sedentary lifestyle, poor nutrition, overweight. So can be greatly helped with Ayurvedic herbs and Ayurvedic lifestyle. Ayurvedic geriatrics is known as Rasayana Tantra. It's not the study of how to manage senile elders in nursing homes. It's the science of rejuvenation leading to a healthy old age. Quote, from promotive treatment, one attains longevity, memory, intelligence, freedom from disorders, youthful age, excellence of luster, complexion, and voice. Rasayana is the way for attaining excellent rasa. So, really, over the age of 45, people do start getting worried about their memory. And I used to think it was people in midlife or older, but now with so much of life happening on smartphones, we're also seeing young people who can't remember stuff because you keep your brain in your pocket, you keep your brain in your purse. You have to use your actual memory, your brain memory, in order to remember stuff. People used to laugh because I'd say I keep my phone book in my brain. Of course, now, most of the people whose phone numbers are in my brain no longer have that phone number because they've given up on a landline phone. They only have a cell phone, and depending how often I'm calling their cell phone, I may or may not have memorized that. So we need to use our brain in order to have a good memory. If we're constantly distracted, we're not going to remember stuff because we didn't pay attention in the first place. But still, there's a lot of fear that is associated with memory because a number of us do have a friend, a relative, a parent, a sibling, a grandparent living through dementia. And then we're always worried, is it going to be me next? You've probably heard of the incredibly famous author Stephen King, who's written really terrifying novels. I've heard that he's a really sweet man. I've never tried to read any of his novels because I can't read scary stuff. It's too terrifying. But I heard him on an interview on NPR, and he said, you think the stuff I write is terrifying? What's terrifying is my mother having dementia and me worrying about what's happening to my memory. That, he said, is truly terrifying. I think is a really terrifying thing for people. We have and that fear and that stress about being afraid of losing our memory is provoking our vata and making our memory worse. I remember my one friend said she just finally had to move her father into a facility because his dementia had gotten so bad he couldn't take care of himself. And I said, so how's that going? How's he doing? And she said, oh, he's fine because he thinks he's in a casino in Las Vegas. So, we can create our own realities and actually feel happy in the midst of these losses. So some of the questions that are typically supposed to be asked when we start getting concerned about our memory go like this. First of all, what kinds of things are you forgetting? It is quite normal to forget the name of someone you met recently. And especially since I've gotten over 70, I have to make a really big effort about remembering the names of the people that I met recently, like saying them over to myself, attaching them to some kind of memory hook, like, oh, this person goes by my ex-sister-in-law's dead name. Before she was a woman, she had that same name. Like, things like that can help you to remember a person's name. It's paying attention in the first place, repeating it over, making an effort. Anytime you pass that person's house or places associated with that person, remembering to mention them by name. I also like to write people's names down in my journal. we know a lot of people, but we do need to try to remember their names. It's also considered normal to forget parts of a conversation, um, but not to forget that that conversation ever occurred. And it's also not considered normal to forget the name of someone you know really well. My mum, my late mum, actually had a dementia joke book. And one of the jokes in the dementia joke book, there are two lifelong friends sitting on a park bench, two women, and one of them looks at the other and a look of horror crosses her face, and she says, I hate to ask this, but would you tell me your name? A look of horror passes her friend's face, and she says, I'll get back to you on that. So if you're forgetting your own name or the name of your best friend, that definitely could be a symptom. Also, how often we have memory lapses. We all could forget an appointment once in a while. Everyone sometimes loses their car in the parking lot, but it shouldn't be happening all the time. And just a very typical question, is it interfering with normal daily activities? If it's interfering with normal daily activities, if we're always about to burn the house down because of leaving the kettle or the pan on, or leaving the tap running or whatever, that's clinically significant. And especially if you are noticing progressive memory loss. So what are some of the things that we can do to support memory? Here in Boulder, it is said to be one of the healthiest communities in the United States. But I've also had a lot of experiences where I've gone and done consultations in Iowa, Nebraska, and Minnesota. And that's when I realized that most Americans live on sugary cold cereal, hamburgers, French fries, Subway sandwiches, M&Ms and ice cream. And then when you try to press them on what's a healthy meal, they'll say meat and potatoes. So a diet that's high in sugar, refined flour, salt, saturated fat, it's also, you're not going to get your B vitamins from a diet like that. It's almost like eat to wreck your memory. Just do it. The standard American diet, guaranteed to wreck your memory and give you diabetes. So step one, before we get on to any refinements like eating for your prakriti or vikriti, let's just go to the basic healthy diet. A protein breakfast, a main meal with whole grains, vegetables, and either fish or some kind of beans or lentils, including fresh fruits and nuts and seeds for snacks, and a lighter dinner like soup. So we first of all have to start eating items that most people through most of history would recognize as food. Once we've gotten to that point, then we can start thinking of supporting our memory with a Vata soothing diet. Plenty of soups, warm foods. I was a little horrified just recently. Eric Topol, famous cardiologist and longevity expert, was writing in Washington Post about his diet. I was like, oh, it's exciting. What's this longevity expert, only a few years younger than me, eat? Starts the day, whereas I start my day with a tall glass of warm water, starts his day with a big black coffee. Then a big cold yogurt and granola. Lunch is a lot of nuts. And supper is a big salad. Like, are you trying? Are you trying to provoke your Vata? It kind of shocked me. But if you do want to have good memory and good heart health by supporting your Vata, eat warm foods, eat soups, eat dals, eat warm, soothing foods. Also, have turmeric in your diet. That just means eat your khichdi, eat your dal, use your Agni Churna that you get from us in clinic, because curcumin, because it's antioxidant and anti-inflammatory, and it's lipophilic, means it will cross the blood-brain barrier and get into those fatty tissues in the brain. It does improve cognitive function. Also, instead of that big cup of coffee like I was telling you the Topol has, drink your Tulsi tea. It's really good for improving memory and cognitive function. If you've got any memory loss problems, make sure you drink your Tulsi tea. Then take care of your Vata with your Abhyanga, with doing some regular self-massage. You can just use sesame oil, or we can turn you on to the oils we make that are ideal for your own constitution. By balancing Vata, your weekly or daily Abhyanga or self-massage is going to help your memory. Exercise. You want to start this well before you're old. Let's start getting up and moving at least in our 40s in order to have good brain health in our 70s and 80s. And shouldn't just be same old, same old. New and challenging forms of movement. Yoga. Go do a different yoga class. In 1980, I was living at Krista Prema Seva Ashram in Pune, and we were doing Iyengar yoga every day, including with Sister Columba, who was an octogenarian nun who had just recently taken to asana practice. And the one thing, she was doing legs up the wall instead of shoulders down, but pretty much she was mostly doing what we were doing. So there's also rehabilitative adjustments. Like if we are feeling our memory not being what we need it to be, what are the steps we need to take? I saw one patient who had had a head injury, had memory loss issues, comes in with a notebook, a calendar, and pen, all rubber banded together, kept in a prominent place in her purse. I also have a client who had a list inside his front door. Before you leave, you look at the list. Stove burners off, back door locked, got keys, wallet. That's good rehab. The American Academy of Family Physicians does recommend making lists. I really like lists. While I have all of the Trello and all of the this and that on my computer, my best and most sophisticated friend is a clipboard and scrap paper, whereon I make lists, and the things I didn't get done today will get moved on to tomorrow's list, and so on. Also, keeping a detailed calendar. That can be a wall calendar. That can be your iCal. I really like my iCal and how it's giving me reminders of all of my appointments. I recommended it to my brother-in-law after he was horrified that he missed a dental appointment because he'd waited a long time for the dental appointment and then he forgot to go. I was like, just put it on your iCal. So just help to remember our appointments, because our lives are complicated these days. Keep things in consistent places. This is really important. This house has 3 doors. Yeah, the front door, the side door, and the healing room door. I'm going to always keep my shoes just inside the side door, so going out does not involve a house-wide shoe hunt. Keep things in consistent places is really important. And then what I said before, going over the names of new people and making the associations. Another issue is Are we working? Are we retired? Working, yeah, that can contribute to memory loss because of stress. But retirement is an independent cause of decline and death. The lack of challenge, the lack of stimulation. So you want to get involved, whether that's volunteering at the hospital or the library, whether that's having retirement hobbies, doing more cooking, taking classes, doing activities. You want to keep engaged. Because again, the brain is use it or lose it. No, your brain is not a muscle, but yet the synaptic connections in your brain continue to build throughout the life as long as you use your brain. My mum, after she had a stroke and she was struggling with speech and writing, she liked Sudoku number placement puzzles. Personally, I loathe puzzles. I hate puzzles. She found it was part of her rehab. As we get older, starting in our 50s, there are multiple ways in which we can lose our sense of purpose. It does start with being an empty nester. Then that part of the sandwich generation is gone when the kids are launched, but then the other half of the sandwich gets gone when the elders we were looking after die. Friends start to die. I have actually really fewer friends, and especially since the loss of my actual best friend. It's tough. So how are we going to retain a sense of purpose as we get older? Let's get more involved in meditation, in journal exercises, in active imagination. There are many herbs that we can offer that are going to help with memory. Some of the things we need to support include the levels of acetylcholine in the brain, the levels of dopamine in the brain, the HPA or hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, and the DHEA levels, and the whole issues with oxidative stress. So embedded within Rasayana Tantra or the Ayurvedic geriatrics are herbs that do act on these degenerative processes. So when I'm talking about the herbs, remember, I'm not suggesting you just go onto Amazon and order them, or take them on your own, or even just buy them from Banyan and take them on your own. You want to come into clinic and get the right tailored formula for you, the right balance for you, because a herb that is a friend for one person could be a foe for another. But yes, ashwagandha is a really preeminent anti-aging, memory supporting herb, and it does support the HPA axis and raise the DHEA. Tulsi, as we mentioned, it's really good for your brain. A lot of people come asking about Mucuna pruriens, which we call Kapikachu, or also Atmagopta, two names for the same really important herb. It does restore endogenous levodopa, dopamine, and epinephrine and serotonin. So it is helpful for memory and for Parkinson's. Having said which, as we've said in a previous podcast, we're not here to claim we can cure Parkinson's. We're just trying to help you the degeneration slow. Brahmi, our dear friend Brahmi, it does combat oxidative stress and reduce brain inflammation. But there's many other herbs. We like Vidari, we like a herb called Shankapushpi, we like licorice. So come in is the best way to get us to make the right combination for you. Chyavanprash, that is a famous jam that was taken by Sage Chyavan when he was extremely old and gave him a new lease of life. And it is scientifically formulated per Rasayana Tantra to alleviate the issues of old age, including memory loss. Quote, by using this Rasayana, the extremely old Chavana regained youthful age. Yes, even the old attain intellect, memory, and luster. So, always got to be careful when you start to worry about your memory. It may not be predominantly about your memory. Are you sleeping well? Are you eating well? Are you getting enough B vitamins? Maybe you should take a B complex or a B12 supplement. Are you having too much stress? Are you not getting enough stimulus? What's going on with your thyroid, with your cholesterol, with your overall health? Do you have excessive daytime sleepiness? Maybe it's sleep apnea. Maybe you need a sleep study. All kinds of things can affect our memory that may not be a sentence of it's all downhill from here. But the wonderful thing about Ayurveda is we have the diet, we have the lifestyle, and we have the herbs to support your memory. So that's a wonderful thing. Namaste.
Thank you for tuning in to Ayurveda and Spirituality with Alakananda Ma. We hope today's exploration has ignited a spark of curiosity and insight within you. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to leave us a 5-star review and share it with a friend. For more enlightening discussions and practical wisdom on Ayurveda and spirituality, subscribe and join our Facebook group, Alundi Ayurveda. To allow us to continue sharing valuable content, consider donating to Alundi Ashram. The links will be in the show notes. Until next time, may you walk the path of Ayurveda with grace and embrace the light of spiritual wisdom in your journey.
Trayambakam yajamahe sugandhim pushtivardanam urvarukamiva pandanam Mrityu